Welcome to Leaving Crazy Town with Finn and Sarah. What are we going to talk about today, Sarah?
We are going to talk about the holidays, upcoming holidays. Specifically, we're going to talk about Thanksgiving Day.
At the event.
So you've made a choice. And you know what I just realized, though? We might also talk about if you choose not to be with family. And sometimes I've gone to just like a meeting on Thanksgiving. You're going to know my history of choices around Thanksgiving. And sometimes a lot of loneliness comes up or feelings like, oh my God, everybody has a family. And just noticing those thoughts. So we're going to talk about being at the event or not being at the event and what happens then. Okay, just a thought then. All right. So you've made a choice and you're at the event and it's either family or friends and you're there. And take it away, Finn. What are possible scenarios
I would say there are a couple of different things.
Yeah.
So, one, the event could be something you're really excited about to go to.
Yes, great point.
The other thing could be, we talked about in other video, where you didn't want to go, but it was easier to go than it is to deal with the fallout of not going.
Yes, great point.
So, you want to go, it's an exciting event. There's an opportunity that it's not going to be as the way you hoped, right? You may have had an expectation.
Yep.
And with the one where you're like stepping into old dynamics you're not necessarily a fan of, there are ways to deal with this.
Yes.
Yeah. The first thing Sarah and I thought about was time limits.
Yes.
You know, and there are ways you can deal with this. You could set up an event. So your family's doing something from 12 to 6. You want to leave at 4. Well, hopefully dinner's at 1. God forbid we miss that. You could line up a meeting or plan an event, or you could just let them know in advance you have to leave.
Exactly.
In some ways, you may have to deal with people begging you not to go.
Right.
But if it's set up in advance, it's a lot easier.
It's easier.
Like, oh, I'm sorry, I have plans. And remember, you don't need to tell anyone what your plans are.
Yes, and all you're responsible for is what you're going to say. You're not responsible for mom doing X, Y, and Z. And the thing to remember is this, too. People are going to do what they've always done. So if your behavior is different, just remember, if mom's someone who makes you feel guilty, she's going to try to do that. And, just remember, that's about mom, not about you. Or they're going to whatever.
You may have siblings who don't want to be there either. And they're like, how could you leave me?
How could you leave me?
Not your problem.
Not your problem.
You may feel uncomfortable leaving.
Yes.
But that's okay.
Yes.
You're just not used to it yet.
You're not used to it and it requires practice. And like we're saying, if you set it up like, okay, my first attempt, I'm going to stay for this many hours, and then plan something after so you can kind of down-regulate your system, calm down a little bit, get support. Because sometimes just being around family for me can be activating even if nothing horrible happens.
Right.
It's just sometimes being around family, to be honest, just activates old stuff just by being around them.
Yeah.
So just really give yourself some spaciousness and some compassion around you may have lots of feelings, and that's okay. And be kind to yourself.
Yeah, you can go for a walk.
Yes.
You can take a break in the bathroom. I used to do that all the time when I felt like I was getting frustrated. I would go to the bathroom.
Yes.
You know, if you got drunk uncle who's being belligerent, you don't have to stay and listen to it.
Nope.
You can leave the room. You can leave the house. You can leave the restaurant.
Yes. Just remember this. You have options. Even though at times you don't think you do, you do. Like Finn's saying, say someone says something mean to you and you're having feelings about it. Or your mother says what she always says to you and you're having feelings about it. It's like, okay, what are some strategies? I can pause. I cannot take the bait and get into an argument. We talk about that a lot. I could say, I need to just go outside for a minute. You go outside, you make a call to a friend. You can go to the bathroom. You can pray.
I like to say, wow, that was a hurtful thing to say, and then walk away.
Yeah, that's always a great option if you can do it. And the other keys to remember are, and this is the core of codependency recovery, what your family is doing is not about you. It's about them. They're just going to do what they've always done.
And you have the potential, even though it's not your responsibility, to change all those dynamics by just changing yourself. Once you change and old behaviors don't work to manipulate you anymore,
Yes.
suddenly other people need to change too. It's kind of amazing. Doesn't
And-
always happen right away.
Nope.
And sometimes they up the ante. You know, the normal guilt doesn't get you, so then
So
they get
they'll-
nasty. Those things happen. It's
Right.
okay.
Right.
Just got to tolerate it.
Yeah, just notice your feelings. Don't dismiss yourself, but you don't have to react.
Right.
And you can set up, if you're able to set a boundary, you can do that. You can say, wow, that hurt. You can even make a joke if that's easier.
Okay, now,
Okay, go ahead.
I got a question for you.
Go.
Okay, so what's a tool for I sit down to Thanksgiving dinner and I don't like anything that's being served, or I'm allergic to it, or I just don't want to eat it? Do I have to shove all that food in my face?
No, you definitely don't have to shovel that food.
Because food's
but
an issue too for people.
Food is an issue. If you definitely have allergies or have some special food things, you have to be responsible for that beforehand. Don't go in a delusional way and expect that they're going to have what you want when you have a specific food plan. Hopefully you can take care of that. Absolutely.
It's funny because when I don't eat flour, often people will be like, "Oh no, it's okay. It's almond flour."
Right.
I'm like, no, I don't have a gluten allergy. So there's times where people say, "Oh, don't worry, it's vegetarian. It just has fish in it." So people don't understand food needs. So
Right.
I would always suggest if you have special food issues, bring something that you can either leave in a cooler in your car if you need it to
Yes.
eat or whatever.
Yes.
So it's not everybody else's fault if they don't understand your food issue.
Reminds me of that movie, the Greek wedding movie, where they gave
they're
lamb,
vegetarian.
and then they're like, it's vegetarian.
And they said the lamb was vegetarian.
Okay. Yes. All right. So other strategies when you're with family. What are some potential hazards that could happen? Feelings can happen. You can get. Go ahead.
You're just talking about my family?
Well, I was just thinking about my own thing. Go ahead.
Violence could happen, yelling and screaming, the turkey's been thrown. I don't know, a lot could happen with my family.
A lot could happen.
Hence why I don't have Thanksgiving with them.
Right. And how do you take care of yourself during those crazy times? Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Remember, none of it's personal. Another tool I had is an Al-Anon tool, detach with love, meaning you can be an observer without engaging.
Now, I think a lot of people don't understand this. So I work with people on doing the steps, and I have to go through this a lot.
Okay.
Other people's behavior is not about me.
Okay.
Right? Don't take it personal, you're saying. So if Uncle Tom is swearing at me and calling me names,
Right.
I shouldn't take that personal?
No.
Like,
well,
what do you mean when you
or
say
what do
that his behavior's not about
What
me?
do I mean by that is his swearing and his drunkenness or whatever he's doing is really because of how he feels and what is going on with him. So it's not personal in the sense, and I always say this, what comes out of someone else's mouth is about them. It's not to say you won't have feelings about
Right.
it. Yeah, and you may be angry and you may get upset, but it's still about how can you be responsible for your reactions without making a situation worse. You can try to set a limit. If you're capable of that, you can leave a situation.
Yeah, I'm more of a walk away from the situation.
Yes.
I used to be a fight back, but that never makes the situation better.
Never makes the situation
It just makes me feel bad because now I've reacted in a way I don't want to.
Absolutely. The other thing and this is kind of a turn, is be of service. Try to bring joy to the situation. Try to bring positivity to the situation. Sometimes when we're headed to our families, we're spiraling. We're like, oh, this is going to be a nightmare and blah, blah, blah.
Right, but if you're making a conscious choice to go,
Yes.
and you're thinking like, what can I do different this time?
Yes. Yes.
Maybe you're someone who sits in the living room. Maybe this time go to the kitchen and be like, Mom, Auntie, whatever, sister, can I help you? What can I do? Because I can tell you this, holidays are they go by a lot faster and they're a lot more fun if you're busy doing stuff and not just sitting around like, ugh.
Yes. So think about that too. What do I want to bring to this event? My attitude, my perceptions, my feelings, how am I going to behave? Like really think about it and visualize, how do I want it to go down?
And you might be thinking, well, they don't deserve it, or why should I do that for them? You're not doing it for them. Just like the uncle's giving me a hard time, that's about him. Your attitude that you bring to an event is for you.
Yes.
Even though we're saying it like, how could you be of service? trust me, it returns tenfold in the feeling zone for yourself. If you decide, I'm going to go and be pleasant and of service, you're going to feel better.
Yes. Perfect. All right. So just remember this. It's one day. It may only be a few hours. You will survive it. You're an adult. Remember, you're an adult.
Okay, now real
Okay,
quick.
go ahead.
You've chosen not to go.
Yes.
What are you going to do? Sarah loves to go to the movies, right?
You won't believe how I've spent Thanksgivings. I have one child, and so for years, I would have him one Thanksgiving and not have the next because we alternated. So I got very skilled at discovering what I really like to do. A lot of times I would spend time with a sponsee who didn't go to see her family. A lot of times we'd do something physical. We'd either hike, we'd go to a yoga class, we'd, make a breakfast, I've gone to movies. So there are tons of things to do. I've gone to alkathons, I've gone to meetings, I've planned, different activities. There are lots of options on Thanksgiving. So say to yourself, if you're choosing to be alone or not be with your family, what would bring me joy today?
Right. Years ago, I came up with the idea of like traditions I wanted to do for myself. Now
Yes.
I have my step kids, which is great. But prior to that, I would always volunteer at the Thanksgiving Alkathon that my group put on.
Yes.
I did that. I served food. I loved that.
Yes.
And also, when it comes to like traditional Thanksgivings, some people might do other things. Like my stepson's a vegetarian. So we've done for the last 3 or 4 years
Yes.
Indian food on Thanksgiving Day,
Yes.
which has been, most places are open. It's awesome.
Yes.
So that you might do a twist there, like not necessarily alone, but you might say, oh, but shouldn't I have a turkey? But you can do what you want to do.
Oh my God. Okay, that's how we're ending this video. I was just about to say, like my friend Linda always says, you could do whatever you want. I know you don't believe that sometimes, but literally, you can do whatever you want on Thanksgiving. All
Yeah,
right.
somebody tried to get me to eat a tofurkey. I'd rather have Indian food, thank you.
But think about what you want beforehand. Okay, we're leaving. Fasten your seatbelt.